Robert Evans once said, I can only sell you this movie through this poster. He was talking about the Cotton Club, I think. I could be wrong here. But this movie, the title sold the movie, and a lot of people, when the title was proposed, it was kind of a freaky thing because uh, it was sexual, it was anticipatory, and it was titillating. It's called Frankenstein Created Women. Now, this Hammer horror film was directed by the great Terence Fisher. It stars Peter Cushing as Baron Frankenstein and Susan Denberg as his new creation. It is the fourth film in the Hammer's Frankenstein series. While Hammer's previous Frankenstein films were concerned with the physical aspects of the Baron's work, the interest here is the metaphysical dimensions of life, such as the soul's relationship to the body. Now, written by John Elder, produced by Anthony Nelson Keys, also starring Thorley Walters, cinematographer Arthur Grant, edited by Spencer Reeve, music by the great James Bernard. Hammer did it, distributed by Warner Pathé in the UK and the 20th Century Fox in the US. Came out in March in the States, but in June in the UK. Running time was 86 minutes in the UK and 92 minutes in the States. $140,000 budget with 457,000 admissions in French, and it was an okay box office result. Now, years after witnessing his father being executed by guillotine, Hans is working as assistant to the failed doctor Victor Frankenstein. Frankenstein, with the help of Dr. Hertz, is in the process of discovering a way of trapping the soul of a recently deceased person. Frankenstein believes he can transfer that soul into another recently deceased body to restore it to life. Hans is also the lover of Christina, daughter of cowardly innkeeper Cleve. Christina's entire left side is disfigured and partially paralyzed. Young dandies Anton, Joanne, and Carl frequent Cleve's inn and cause a disturbance. Joanne threatens to have his father revoke Cleve's license if he complains. The three insist that he will be served by Christina and mock her for her deformities. Very, very effective scene, by the way. The taunting angers Hans, who fights the three of them and cuts Anton's face with a knife. Instead of helping Hans against the thugs, Cleve runs away and fetches the police. Eventually, the dandies decide to leave the inn. They return tonight to steal wine from the inn, and when Cleve catches them in the act, they beat him to death. Meanwhile, Hans spends the night with Christina, and in the morning sees her leave on the stagecoach. Returning to town, Hans sees a crowd inside Cleve's tavern, and based on no evidence, is immediately presumed a suspect in the murder. Hans is arrested. He will not reveal his time with Christina as an alibi, and known for his short temper, is tried. The trial is a farce, and Hans is convicted. Despite Frankenstein and Hertz's defenses against the accusations, Hans is executed by guillotine. Seeing this as an opportunity, Frankenstein gets hold of Hans's fresh corpse and traps his soul. Now, distraught over Hans's death, Christina drowns herself in the river. Again, very, very important scene in Hammer history, because this was caused some problems with the censors. The peasants fish out her body and bring it to Hertz to see if he can do anything. Frankenstein and Hertz transfer Hans's soul into her body. Over months of complex and intensive treatment, they cure her physical deformities. The result is a physically healthy woman with no memory of her past life. Frankenstein insists on telling her nothing but her name and keeping her in Hertz's house. Despite coming to her senses regarding her identity, Christina is taken over by the spirit of the vengeful Hans. Now, when Christina kills Anton and Carl in in Revenge, driven mostly by the ghostly assistance of Hans, Frankenstein and Hertz become suspicious of her behavior and take her to guillotine where Hans and his father were executed. However, they believe she subconsciously retains the memories of Hans' father's death rather than of Hans himself. By the time Frankenstein realizes the truth, he finds her already murdering Joanne. Despite Frankenstein's pleas, Christina knows she now has no one and nothing left to live for, and drowns herself again. Frankenstein, disappointed and having apparently learned a lesson, walks away silently. Now, Peter Cushing plays Frankenstein as more of a more sympathetic character. Now, Frankenstein Created Woman was originally mooted as a follow-up to the Revenge of Frankenstein during its production in 1958, at a time when Roger Vadim's Dieu créa la femme and God Created Woman was successful. In fact, the film's original working title was And Then Frankenstein Created Women. The film finally went in production at Bray Studios on July 4th, 1966. It was Hammer's penultimate production there. Now, Variety wrote that the film was the actually excellent technical aspects which have come to be expected of Hammer film, but that the script often seems overly influenced by other and better written screen efforts. The Monthly Film Bulletin expressed disappointment that the film did not focus on Frankenstein's work, but that the script was rather more concerned with the gory murder spree which follows in the wake of Christina's restoration, concluding that the poverty of the script is little compensation for the loss of the old tradition. Now, Leonard Maltin was blunt in his review. Everything goes wrong, including script. Hollowell's film and video guide describes the film as crude and gory farrago, while the Time Out Film Guide says it's full of cloying Keatsian imagery, which somehow transcends the more idiotic aspects of the plot. Now, some commentators on Frankenstein Created Women have been more positive. Martin Scorsese, again a big fan of the Hammer series, picked the movie as part of a 1987 National Film theater season on his favorite films, saying if I single this one out, it's because here they actually isolate the soul. The implied metaphysics are close to something sublime. Now, in the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 62% of 13 critics' reviews are positive. Now, according to records of the Fox studio, this movie was a double feature with a Mummy Shroud, needed to earn 1.625 million in rentals to break even, and it made 1.59 million, meaning it made a loss at the time, but it's made more back in home media. Released in October 2013 in the UK and on 28th of January in the US on DVD. Each disc featured a restored version of the film, and the episodes of World of Hammer included on the DVD released by Anchor Bay over a decade before. Now, among the highlights is an audio commentary with actors Robert Morris and Derek Fowles, moderated by Hammer expert Jonathan Rigby. Now, Jonathan Rigby also talked about this movie in his very important book, English Gothic, A Century of Horror Cinema. Now, what really stands out for me was the title kind of got people at the movie theater thinking it was going to be a direct kind of Frankenstein movie, but saving the soul rather than making a new body or creating a body from spare parts went kind of out of the side of Frankenstein. And for a lot of people, it was a little bit over their heads because most people went to see horror movies in the 60s were looking for gore and flesh and all kind of stuff, and this was more psychological. But the posters had a different thing. One of the posters said, "From flesh and innocence, Frankenstein has created the ultimate in evil, a beautiful woman with the soul of the devil." But not really, because it's kind of, she wasn't predominantly evil. Evil was thrust upon her, so it wasn't really what you call. She was brought back to life against her will and combined with another person. So it was more, if you can two souls inhabit one body, brain and soul or whatever. I don't want to get too freaky, but like I said, for a Hammer movie, it was one of the more intellectual movies in the series. So ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy our reviews of the Hammer movies, shout out to our good friend John Walco, who made several requests of Hammer movies in recent weeks. This is one I don't think he wanted me to do because maybe he forgot about it, but this is for John. And if you like what we're doing, tell your friends. And if you didn't like it, don't tell nobody. As we used to say in the Bayview Drive in Beresford, New Brunswick. Have a good day. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, or share. Bye.